The name I'm about to drop might not be lighting up highlight reels every Sunday, but inside Allen Park, there's a conversation happening that every Lions fan needs to hear. Welcome to Lions News Fan Report, the channel where you get the most up-to-date news, insider analysis, and everything happening with our beloved Detroit Lions. I'm here every single day, living and breathing this team just like you, tracking every roster move, every draft prospect, every strategic decision that could shape our championship window. And today, I'm taking you deep into a situation that's been quietly developing in Michigan, right in our backyard, involving a player who could be the perfect fit for what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are building here in Detroit. Before I get into the specifics of who this player is and why he matters so much to our future, let me set the stage for where we are right now as a franchise. The Lions are in the middle of something special, something we haven't experienced in decades. This isn't just about winning games anymore. This is about sustained excellence, about building a roster that can compete year after year, about making smart decisions that keep our championship window wide open. And one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now, one that became painfully clear over the last few weeks, is depth at the tight end position. Sam Laporta has been nothing short of spectacular since we drafted him, becoming Jared Goff's security blanket and one of the most reliable weapons in our offense. But injuries happen in this league, and when they do, you need to have answers ready. Right now, Brock Wright has stepped up admirably as our number 2 tight end. He's physical. He's a willing blocker. He understands the system, and he's shown he can contribute in the passing game when his number is called. But here's the reality we need to face. Wright's contract situation only guarantees him through 2026. And in the NFL, you can never have too much talent at any position. The best organizations in this league are always thinking 2-3 steps ahead. They're not just building for this season or next season. They're building for sustained success. And that means identifying talent early, especially talent that fits your culture, your scheme, and your geographic footprint. This is where Brad Holmes has been absolutely brilliant since taking over as general manager. He understands that building through the draft is the foundation of any championship team. Look at our roster right now. Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, and of course, Sam Laporta. All these guys were acquired through Holmes' draft work, through his scouting department's ability to identify talent and fit. And one thing I've noticed about Holmes' approach is that he loves finding value in places other teams might overlook. He's not afraid to take a player from a smaller program, or a guy who hasn't put up gaudy numbers, but has the traits and the character that fit what we're building here. Now, when we look ahead to the upcoming draft, the tight end class is actually pretty interesting. There are some big names who are going to go early, guys who are putting up monster numbers at major programs and getting all the attention from the national media. But there's also a tier of players who might not be household names yet, who haven't dominated the stat sheet every single week, but who have the physical tools, the blocking ability, and the football IQ to develop into legitimate NFL contributors. And when you're a team like the Lions, sitting in a position where you're likely going to be picking later in each round because of how successful we've been, finding those value picks becomes even more important. One of the advantages we have as the Detroit Lions is our proximity to some of the best college football programs in the country. Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, all of these schools are right in our backyard. Our scouts can easily get to these games, build relationships with coaches, get up-close looks at players in person, rather than just relying on film. And there's something to be said for drafting local talent, guys who grew up in this region, who understand what it means to play in the Midwest, who have that toughness and work ethic that comes from this part of the country. It's not a coincidence that some of our best players have those ties to the region. So let me bring this all together and tell you about the player who's been on my mind, the guy I think the Lions need to be watching very closely as we head into draft season. We're talking about a senior tight end from the University of Michigan, a player who has spent his entire college career right here in our state, learning the game, developing his skills, and waiting for his opportunity. His name is Marlon Klein, and while he might not have the flashy statistics that get casual fans excited, he has exactly the kind of profile that should make Brad Holmes and our scouting department take a very serious look. Klein's journey at Michigan has been about patience and development. He spent most of his career backing up Colston Loveland, who just declared for the draft and is projected to be a first-round selection. That means Klein has been learning behind one of the best tight end prospects in the country, absorbing everything about how to play the position at a high level, understanding the nuances of route running, blocking technique, and how to be a complete tight end in a pro-style offense. And here's something that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but matters immensely to NFL teams. Klein is a willing and capable blocker. In Dan Campbell's offense, where we pride ourselves on being physical, on running the football, on dominating the line of scrimmage, having tight ends who can block isn't just a bonus, it's a requirement. Now, I know some of you are looking at his numbers and thinking, he hasn't even had a 200-yard receiving season. Why should we be excited about this guy? And that's a fair question, but let me give you some context. Michigan's quarterback situation this year has been inconsistent at best. They've gone through 3 different passers since J.J. McCarthy left for the NFL, and that kind of instability makes it really hard for any receiver or tight end to build rhythm and put up big numbers. Klein also dealt with an injury that kept him out against Oklahoma, which cost him valuable playing time. But when you watch the film, when you see how he moves, how he blocks, how he understands leverage and angles, you see a player who has all the tools to succeed at the next level. Here's what really excites me about Klein as a prospect for the Lions. He's being slept on nationally, which means we could potentially get him on day 3 of the draft, maybe in the 6th round, or even as a priority free agent. That's incredible value for a player with his physical tools and football intelligence. And because he played his college ball right here in Michigan, our scouts have had countless opportunities to evaluate him in person, to talk to his coaches, to understand his character and work ethic. Brad Holmes has shown time and time again that he values those intangible qualities just as much as raw statistics. And everything I've heard about, Klein suggests he's exactly the kind of person who fits our culture. Think about what adding Klein would mean for our tight end room going forward. You'd have Sam Laporta as your elite number 1, a guy who can do everything at a Pro Bowl level. You'd have Brock Wright as your experienced veteran who knows the system inside and out. And then you'd have Klein as your developmental piece, a young player who can contribute immediately on special teams and as a blocker, while gradually working his way into more offensive snaps as he learns the NFL game. That's depth, that's competition, that's smart roster construction. And if Wright's contract situation changes, or if we need to make tough decisions down the line, you've already got your next man up, ready to step in. Another thing I love about this potential fit is the scheme alignment. Michigan runs a pro-style offense that emphasizes physicality, play-action passing, and tight ends who can do multiple things. That's exactly what we do here in Detroit. Klein wouldn't be learning a completely new system. He'd be transitioning to a scheme that has a lot of the same principles and concepts he's been running for 4 years in college. That makes the learning curve much shorter, and it increases the chances that he can contribute early in his NFL career. Let me also address the elephant in the room. Some people might say we have bigger needs to address in the draft. That tight end shouldn't be a priority when we could be looking at defensive line, secondary, or other positions. And I get that perspective. I really do. But here's the thing about great organizations. They don't just draft for immediate need. They draft for value and long-term sustainability. If Klein is sitting there in the 6th round and he's the best player available, and he fits what we do schematically and culturally, why wouldn't you take him? You can never have too many good football players, and you can never have too much depth at important positions. The teams that win championships are the ones who can weather injury, who have quality backups ready to step in, who are always thinking about the next wave of talent. I also want to talk about what this says about Brad Holmes' approach to roster building. He's not chasing big names for the sake of big names. He's not overpaying for flashy free agents who might not fit our culture. He's finding value in the draft. He's developing young players. He's building through sustainable methods that keep us competitive year after year. And part of that process is identifying players like Klein, guys who might not get the national hype, but who have the traits and characteristics that translate to NFL success. That's how you build a dynasty. That's how you keep your championship window open for a decade, rather than just a couple years. So here's my bottom line analysis on Marlon Klein and why the Lions should be seriously considering him. He's a local product who played at a major program. He's a willing blocker who fits our physical identity. He's learning behind a first-round tight end which shows he can handle high-level competition. And he's likely going to be available on day 3, where the value would be tremendous. Add all that up, and you have a prospect who makes a ton of sense for what we're building here in Detroit. Will he be the next Sam Laporta? Probably not, and that's okay. But could he be a solid number 2 or 3 tight end who contributes for years and gives us the depth we need to sustain success? Absolutely, and that's exactly the kind of player we should be targeting. Now, I want to hear from you, Lions. Do you think Marlon Klein would be a smart addition to our tight end room? Would you be excited about using a late-round pick on a local product who fits our scheme? Or do you think we should be looking at other positions entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing different perspectives from our community. If you made it this far, make sure you hit that like button to support the work I'm doing here every day. Subscribe to Lions News Fan Report so you never miss an update. And turn on those notifications because I'm bringing you breaking news, deep analysis, and everything you need to know about our Detroit Lions. This is our time. This is our window, and I'm here to cover every single moment of it with you. One pride always.